While Niven is sorting that out. Yeah, as I was saying, so it was Niven that called me and he said to me, you know what, you're going to come and stand in. And I'm doing this fairly often, so when I met Lawrence this morning, he said, are you a renter speaker? No, not really. So please, what I'm about to present is just my ideas, and it's something that I'd worked on roughly from 8 to 12 last night. But it's something that's very relevant, and it's the reason I want to share this with you all is because we actually are finding ourselves in a period of a lot of change, a lot of challenges. There's we all know the issues with regards to the funding, so therefore we need to do things differently. Now these are my ideas, and at the end you will see some suggestions on how to implement those ideas. I'm hoping that you'll take it, you'll discuss it amongst the different groups, and eventually we come together as a defense science engineering technology community, the South African defense science engineering technology community, and work together so that we are relevant and we are sustainable. Okay. If I can, I wanted to ask, just a show of hands. How many of you all know what's the Defense Research Development Board Planning Conference? So then this is going to be relevant. We had the Defense Research Development Board Planning Conference 2 weeks ago. And it is the most important planning conference. And I'm glad that I'm going to talk about it, because if you want to do R&D, you've got to be able to understand how we do technology planning, technology foresight planning, how we do the management of the funding, etc. And I'm hoping that this will give you some insight into why it is so important for you all to make sure that you're a part of the planning process. Okay. So, some ideas. Let's start with understanding each other's roles and responsibilities. We've had some fairly detailed discussions recently, be it with the different institutes or with the industry and institute relationships, and it goes about issues of are we duplicating functions, or are we really relevant from a dairy perspective? Should we not be re-evaluating the whole dairy concept? Dairy is Defense Evaluation Research Institute concept. So in my mind, I still believe that the concept that we put down in South Africa is very relevant. It may need a little bit of tweaking. Technologies change, requirements change, so therefore we may need to look at the capability matrix again, but it's not something that cannot be handled in an appropriate way. So that's an idea, understanding each other's roles and responsibility. Creating channels for open communication and knowledge sharing. We always speak about sharing of knowledge between institutes, sharing knowledge between companies, selling the RSA incorporated concept so that we can compete with other within the global market. Well, have we really done that? We talk about it a lot, but I don't know whether we can really say that we have successes. Remember that it's your reputations and successes is not built on what you're going to do, but rather what you've done. So, better coordination and joint planning. We definitely need this. We all know that we're under extreme pressure from the fiscus. We know that all organizations have got increasing salary bills while reduced funding, so we've got to work together. Stronger collaboration with local and international partners. This theme is more about the fact that, yes, if we had all the money in the world and if we had all the market in the world, we would in all probability not enter into collaborations. But more and more you are seeing that we are announcing, yes, we're developing a fifth generation missile with Brazil. And we're looking at a collaboration with Malaysia. Well, it's out there. Defense acquisition is changing. It's not like the past where you would be able to sell a system and then if the customer is afforded some D-level support or some O-level support or I-level support, they will say thank you very much. That's not what they want. They want to also move up the value chain. They want to progress to from a build to print capability to a build to specification, build to requirements. So they have these ambitions as well. And what we're noticing in the discussions that we're having with them is that when it comes to defense industrial participation agreements, it's not good enough for just us to put down the capability to do a assembly of LRUs. They want know-how, they want to know why. And therefore, we need to understand the principles and the models that will define strong collaborations and also, at the same time, protect our interests. Okay, creating a stronger business environment to ensure a competitive position globally. This is more about the IP issue. Yes, I was the guy that wrote the IP policy. And I know that it's a very contentious issue. In all probability, when we did start that initiative, it was about recordal. But in reality, as you heard from one of the presenters this morning, it's no use having a whole lot of knowledge if you're not going to take it to the market. And if you want to take it to the market, you better know how to do IP management. There's companies, in fact, I had dinner with Rheinmetall the other day, and they said, you know, IP management is integral to their strategy. IP management is built into their business models. And this is the foundation that when I started writing the policies, it was purely about creating a business environment for South African institutes, South African stakeholders, so that we will be advantaged when we are competing. Now it takes a little time. And I'll talk a little bit more about what we are doing to ensure that this, let's just say, incubation period is rapidly moved along, and then we've created that environment that we can really exploit. So, Des, you need to give me a warning when it's 15 minutes, because as I said, I can carry on about any subject. And okay, let's talk about the DSET environment. I drew the slide 3 years ago, and I constantly present it, whether I'm presenting it overseas or to the attachés, and I'm just waiting for somebody to tell me maybe I can change it. But I tried to very simply capture. We got a unique environment. We spread over 4 different departments. So, and I believe it's good. I mean, we have the CSIR within the Ministry of Science and Technology. Why is it good? Well, because they can tap into other funding sources. Imagine if we had to carry the full burden. Armscor, we align to the Ministry of Defense. It's good because sometimes if we do need to park certain sovereign capabilities or strategic capabilities, we can do that. Denel, under the department, under public enterprises. And then obviously, something that is very important, private local industry in the defense sector and locally based industries. You'll know the difference. Because it's important. It's throughout Armscor's policy documents, whether it's a DIP policy document or whether it's a investment policy document. A little time, private local industry is 51% South African owned. Locally based industry is 51%, well, based in South Africa, but 51% foreign owned. So you'll hear these terms. We don't discriminate. For example, in the defense technology funding, we contract an entity like Rheinmetall Denel Munitions. And when we contract, they are locally based. But we are able to use and we are able to contract technology development in them. The reason we are able to do that is because we have contractual arrangements with them that protect our intellectual property, that restrict them, as long as they allow, they put in the right motivations, we agree, it's within our, the mandates, it's approved by the NCACC from a marketing perspective. Anything is possible if you have the right contracting mechanisms. So my boss last week at the Denell conference. He made a statement, and I don't know if you were listening very carefully to what he said. It's this whole definition of strategic and sovereign capabilities. And there's this, we as Armsco together with the DoD, we're going to write a government gazette to clarify, to demystify this whole issue. And his position was very simple. He said there are sovereign capabilities, and sovereign capabilities must be state controlled. But that does not mean that sovereign capabilities need to be state owned. So there are mechanisms. There are mechanisms that can be put in place. I'm currently working with a strategic framework agreement with Roynet, with Denell, and with the CSIR. That's going to allow for investment, be it in strategic or sovereign capabilities. And then we will cover this using contractual arrangements to ensure that we continue in the investment of these, what I call self-sufficiency technologies. Okay, let me see if I had any notes. I'm sorry, because I didn't have the time to write down everything, so I just put pointers on each slide. And I'm hoping that I cover everything that I wanted to talk about. I want to go into a little bit more detail about Defense Evaluation Research Institutes. There's actually only two bodies, two organizations where it is housed in. It's Armsco or in DPSS. And this is what it is about. In Armsco, we have Institute of Maritime Technology, Ergonomics, ProTechnique, Flamingo, DDSI, and the CSIR, you know all the different competency areas, is that correct? Then we have the test ranges. There's DBEL, there's Overberg Test Range, that's the one that's in Denell. Alkanpan is an artillery test range, and Gerotech. Now here's our challenge. I believe that this is the real bedrock for the applied research capability, that eventually it's the knowledge that we transfer into our industry and makes our industry more competitively advantaged. But we're constantly being challenged by reducing budgets, yet expected to do more. I'll give you an example. Alkanpan. We don't get a transfer payment. So Alkanpan is fully commercialized. Gerotech. We don't get we're getting a very minimum transfer. So we had to commercialize. Now, previously we would go to the boards and say, please give us more money. I can tell you it's falling on deaf ears. So I'm asking to you all to innovate, come up with other ideas, see how you can make money to make these things sustainable. We can workshop it, but if we're going to go with that idea that let's go back to government and see how we're going to get money, it's not going to work. You need to be more creative. You need to come up with other solutions. These institutes, for some time, they've been working in silos, and that's not helping us. We need to look at inter-institute collaboration. Des is working together with a team of mine extensively to see how we can really, really find synergies and work together, avoid duplication, to come up with projects. I'll give you some ideas of projects. The first one, flagship program, the UBRD system, or better known as RailSonic. Collaboration between the CSIR and Armsco. We just rolled out the system at Transnet, 880 kilometers from the Sishian mines to Saldanha. It's saving lives. It's saving money. I'm on my way to India at the end of this month to sign up our pilot project with India. I can guarantee you, if the Indian railways are happy with the system, we're not going to have problems. Here's the secret. Royalties generated from the intellectual property, especially the defense-owned intellectual property. Armsco is the custodian, and we now have agreed with the Department of Defense that we can hold that royalty, and we don't need to move that royalty into a central treasury account. We hold that royalty, and that royalty is then used for further technology advancements, and that's exciting. So we put the system in place. We did the recordals, and yes, we had I did it at the last DRD session, where I declared the first revenues from the sale that we did for the international collaboration with Malaysia. And it is substantial. That's great, because That means more PDs as in project definitions can come in. And then we don't need to always tap onto just the budget that comes from the Department of Defense, but we have our own budget. I remember some 15 years ago, Armscor had their own technology budget that was independent of the DoD budget. So maybe we can revive that. Hopefully if the Armscor strategy gets approved, well, it has been at least supported at the Preliminary Defense Staff Council. But if it's approved by Cabinet, then we'll be looking at these other vehicles. So yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel. But we need to get our act together with regards to making sure that we work together, that we get the synergies and we really optimize whatever we can do to support our defense industry. Okay, Des said the Ledger program. So what is the Ledger program? Some 20 years ago, we sat down and we said, there were Center of Excellences, and there were 4 universities. And we noticed that the investment was just going into those 4 universities, and it had the blast research and some radar research. And we said we need to open this thing up. We need to get more previously disadvantaged individuals into the science sector. We need to get more historically disadvantaged professors and institutes into the defense space. It started at maybe 3 or 4 million. It's now one of the flagship programs in South Africa. We are bad marketers. People don't know what we do with the Ledger program. Currently, we've got 85 MSCs on the program, 30 PhDs. Across these various research areas, and look at the spread of institutes. We're currently talking to the University of Zululand on language technologies, and soon we're going to have across here. Why language technologies? Well, together with the CSIR, we've developed what is called the language affiliator. Now that's a simple app that you put into a device, but for our troops, when they're out there in the DRC, etc., they launch the app and it's a translation. So these are the things that we are going to do. I spoke to, it was Rod Kaiser from RDM last night, and he said to me, I'm excited about the scientists and engineers in Durban. They've come up with a hybrid rocket motor, and they are so enthusiastic. Can we bring them onto the Ledger program? And I said, yes, we can. So the Ledger program, for me, yes, it's close to my heart, but it is the bedrock. This is the basic research. It's open research. We've managed to streamline the contracting process. CSIR is looking at contracting many tertiary institutes. We've got Denel on board. Hopefully we get Rheinmetall. But how do we really leverage this? What we need to do is invite these students to these sort of conferences. Or better still, why don't we arrange an open conference? Bring all of them, and then we look at the different technologies there, let them do presentations, look at possibilities for cross-cutting technologies, etc. These are ideas that we need to evolve. I put this up because I don't know how much of insight people have to the technology program. It's 8 domains. We're running 100 projects, and we're supposed to be decreasing, but for some reason, some very good accounting by the Admiral Officer and his team, who's the Director of Technology Development, we actually have increasing the technology budget. And I'm proud to say that soon we'll be hitting 800 million. That's what the technology budget is worth. So think about 8 domains with roughly 100 projects. Now, let me give you an example of something that's exciting to me. Land operations. We did a technology on the CVET, the Combat Vehicle Electric Drive System. Now everybody would say, oh, but no, why is it not in Badger? But you do not do technology programs focused on a product. You do technology development programs focused on a technology domain. I was in the US 2 weeks ago, and they asked me, do you have a solution for power management for laser weapons? And then when I explained to them the vehicle drive system, they said, you know what, this can maybe work. So think about it. It's battery technology. We've perfected the management of energy to 8 different wheels, and we are able to rotate those wheels in different directions. What's managing a railgun? Smaller railgun. What's managing a laser weapon? So this is
And this is how we do it. We have these 100 programs that are running in parallel. Everybody talks about the Marlin program. The Marlin program is actually a smaller program called the raster program, that where we did the next generation seeker, the radar seeker. We took what was out there in the world and we said, let's make it half the size. And then only we did all these streamlined programs, the new rocket system, etc., and we brought it together and launched the Marlin program. So I can give you all many examples across the different programs, but I said, let me just flash this up. So we're doing landwards operations, special operations, air operations, electronics, and electronics is a massive portfolio. Whether it is ubiquitous surveillance, we're discussing even now looking at aerostats and bringing them into the application of awareness, maritime domain awareness, whether we're talking about, as I said, information warfare, cryptology. It's a huge domain. Then there's maritime operations, support operations, got quite a unique investigation in the HIFU area, the high intensity focused ultrasound. We somehow seem to get it right with ultrasound. And now we're looking at doing non-intrusive repair of the soft tissue in all probability, the where we really need to apply these sort of technologies. I had a discussion with the CEO of LODOX, the low dosage X-ray machine that was developed by IDC. If any one of you all know about LODOX, watching, what's it, hospital program? Grey's Anatomy. Yes, that's it. They did it was, if you'll ever Google it and go and see, and it makes you proud. It's a South African product. And they said to me, you know what, if you look at LODOX and you look at HIFU, it's a natural progression. Do your quick analysis, identify where the real problem is within the body, take it to HIFU, and fix the body. Now for the Americans, they have this thing called the, the golden hour. They say if a soldier is injured in the field, and if that soldier's got to that medical facility, within an hour, they will save them. So we present these things. Now you may think, okay, this is really out there, but we know there is an uptake. And we know that we are leading in certain areas. That's another important thing. You looked at the total technology plan. We do not do technology across the board, but the things that we do, we do fairly well. In fact, we do very well, and we consider it as leaders. Okay, once again, the grant system as well as it's part of the technology plan. Now this is something that we always talk about collaboration. Let me tell you about a collaboration model that has worked. This is a slide that Jan Wessels, the CEO of Denel, and myself, we developed around about, I think it was 2013, when we were doing a presentation to the Brazilians. It was BID Brazil. And actually I did a paper and I said to them, so from ADATA, where do we go? Stronger collaboration. What is a partnership that's going to outlast just a project? So we presented this model and we said, okay, when it comes to collaborations between countries and countries, the first question you have to ask yourself is, why is it not happening naturally? For example, why is Denel not talking to Mactron or Opto from Brazil to come up with a joint project of a 5th generation missile? Well, unfortunately, when you get into the industry, there are other business considerations. When you have the Department of Defense behind you, then you drive a different agenda. Then you drive strategic agendas. So we asked, what's the strategic priorities of the MODs? And there was commonality between the two MODs. What is the technology competitiveness? Well, we were saying we were going to be up there. There's 5 nations that do a 5th generation air-to-air missile. There's 5, and we're one of them. So there was competitive advantage. And we offered the other solutions like non-ITAR and also non-EU. So it made us attractive. Was there commercial viability? Yes, there was. When we had 3 ticks, we said, right, this is a program and we're going to launch it. So this is some of the models that we look at, and there may be other models, but I'm open to consideration for anything that comes forward for a model that's going to tick these boxes and even more. flagship programs. I don't know, let me just run through them. And there are many, but I want to just touch on these. There's few that are currently happening. So we got the Beyond Visual Range Missile Development Program, named the Marlin Program. We had a successful ground launch of that missile 2 weeks ago. We started that program 3 years ago. We never had sufficient funding to do it with one service. The Air Force could not just bring all the money themselves. So we managed to get a combined user requirement, a combined funding source, and we have launched that program. But that application can be air to ground, air to air, and also surface to air, from a vessel included. The 3D radar. Together with the CSIR, Reutech radar systems, we have come up with a novel radar system, combining the X-band and L-band radar. And we're going to, in all probability, if you combine those two, if you look at the bottom, the future part, why not a GBATS solution from South Africa? Airborne electronic warfare active protection system. We're talking about the LETS 300 system. We've proved it, we've done, the technology is ready for market. Missile approach warning systems. I just signed a NDA now that's going to allow CSIR together with Saab and Armsco. I want to do one better. I don't want it to be project specific. Why do we do NDAs or MOUs project specific? Let's see if we can work towards elevating it and having CSIR, Saab at a group that will allow you to communicate much more freely, still with having the South African interest at heart. Okay, international collaboration. I spoke about the ADATA missile, IFF Mode 5. We in detailed discussions with both India and Brazil. Precision guided weapons with the UAE, and obviously the Malaysian contract. Possible future programs. We all know and hope that Roifok definitely Mark II gets, it's been approved, just like the defense review. It's been approved, but there's no money. So but we're working on that. CAPS, the close area protection system, the evolution of LETS 300 into CAPS. That's GBATS I spoke about. I got a question mark on SARA. This is an opportunity, if I understand correctly, to get also common technologies used in a civilian application, sponsored by DTI. That's great. That is excellent. We need to work towards those sort of things. Okay, so I said understanding each other's roles and responsibilities. Let's establish, let's go and look at the capability matrix, and let's look at if there's duplication, how do we resolve it? Let's promote. We do have to promote a competitive environment in our industry, but at the same time we also have to have this balance, and therefore a collaborative environment to me is also extremely important. We're small. Our market is small. We need other markets to sustain the technologies that we have. Creating a channel for open communications and sharing. We used to have a lot of specialist interest groups, like for example the radar and EW specialist intergroup, or for the other one is the insensitive munitions. But I remember 20 years ago when Jim Houston was here, there was a material specialist group. There's UAVs. I don't know why we haven't started up this. This specialist groups will influence the user support teams that are actually responsible for the upward flow of the technology plan. So you're going to get your ideas into the guys that actually bring up the plan, which is the user support groups, form more specialist groups. Encourage open technology conference. I touched on that, but I'm seeing too few. When I go to a Denel conference, I see too few CSIR people there, or see if we can open it up. I spoke to Des this morning. We should maybe publish a DSET calendar. Avoid conflict. I got to leave here now to go and present at another conference, DTI conference on localization together with Armsco. So we need to better plan. So come up with an idea of having greater visibility. Better coordination and joint planning. I really enjoyed the joint presentation by CSIR and Denel on the next, what's after Marlin. I came to the CSIR, they presented an idea to me. And within 6 to 8 weeks, they presented together with Denel, they presented to the chief of SR an actual project. And they were a bit ambitious when they put in the project definition as well, but it's fine. But that's what I really, really liked that. The interdepartmental projects supported by a local launch customer. And this is what I'm talking about. From LODOX to HIFU, yes, we can do it. So let's talk to other government departments. The Medical Research Council is doing excellent work on brain trauma. I'm linking them up with ergonomics. And together they're going to provide a solution to what the Americans need. Their soldiers also suffer trauma, especially, and they're going to work together. Strong collaboration on local and international partners. The RSA Inc. We talk about it, but when are we going to launch it? When are we going to do an RSA Link project? There's many opportunities coming up. India, Brazil, South Africa. That's still on schedule to look at the IPSA collaboration at the defense level. There's other opportunities at bilateral levels. The increased support of the DoE through the Defense Committee meetings. This is extremely important. We have restructured how DEFCOMs work. You have the traditional 3 working groups, which is the Army, Navy, Air Force, and they do staff talks, they do exchange programs. You have the 4th group. The 4th group is called the Defense Industry and Research and Development Group, always headed up by Mr. Zondi. If you want a program to have proper mandates at an international level, proper supporting, convince at that level, understand how the DEFCOM works, get your projects in there, I guarantee you, they receive priority. Okay, creating a stronger business environment to ensure competitive intellectual property. So what I've done, we've created an innovation division. We've written an IP policy, we've written an IP strategy. We started a knowledge sharing process. We've got free lectures or workshops that we are now rolling out to not only Armsco, we've done the Department of Defense, the DoD. We're even willing to talk to, we started with Denel. We've had an engagement with them. They also are sharing their ideas. Let's get together with the CSIR. Let's, it's Tumelo Mashabela, that's the senior manager there. She's out of the Denel environment, but she's extremely capable to come up with novel ideas. For me, it's creating the business environment to make sure that we are competitive and we can that we can penetrate the global markets. And then encouraging new entrants in the South African defense industry. Now this is very important. We created a technology fund within, and CSIR is the custodian of this fund that's going to help new startups, BEE startups. They're going to be technology companies, but we're going to go one step further. I had a discussion with Denel Aerostructures the other day. They've got an incubation process and they are actually teaching BE companies how to do manufacturing. So they will actually give them a block of metal and they would cut it up into the right. Imagine if we link that initiative together with the CSIR, then we'll have a technology company together with an industrial process, manufacturing, a sustainable solution. We had a discussion with Airbus and they liked the concept. So they're even looking at an investment to ensure that Denel is able to launch out and have these companies more sustainable. They're also doing training for these companies to have dual use capabilities in the rail sector. Okay, to the conclusion. Everybody's listening and hearing African solution for African challenges. My interpretation, frugal innovation that achieves more with less. We are doing it. I've seen it. We do wonderful research, wonderful product development, much less than our competitors. And I think we can definitely take on the world, the rest of the world. Thank you.